relationship counselor, Elizabeth Overstreet. Everyone has this vision in their mind of what marriage is, how romantic they want it to be, how they're going to raise their children, what the core values are going to be in that relationship. But often we don't tell each other totally what that vision is.
Yeah, I'm glad you wrote that down because I do feel like I think it's great that people are getting the knowledge, getting the help, empowering themselves. But I do think it's also important that the knowledge is the correct knowledge, right?
Absolutely.
So we're perpetuating things that aren't, completely true. So I like that you're calling out that men and women can be narcissists because sometimes you hear it more one way than the other.
Yeah. To your point, I didn't even answer the question. I didn't mean to cut you off, but you absolutely have to. You can't you can't break the trauma bond while you're still in the relationship. Mm-hmm. You have to get out. So what I tell people is you're not getting out of the relationship unscathed. You're not, this thought process that you think that the narcissist is going to be compliant or is going to be cordial. Even if they tell you that they're going to be cordial, they're not. They're going to wipe the bank accounts clean. They're going to be extremely problematic, possibly physically abusive throughout the relationship and throughout even the breakup afterwards, because they start to realize that they're losing they're losing the control. But to truly break the trauma bond, once you're actually gone, you have to go no contact or low contact if you have children, therapy, coaching. You have to understand and educate yourself.
You need a support team.
Definitely need a support team.
That a lot of times, like what makes people strong is sometimes having to lean to people outside of them that have expertise to guide you.
100%.
And I like what you say, you're not going to come out unscathed. So there might be a sacrifice for a moment, right? Of not having that financial dependency, but having to refigure that out. But I think staying in it, you just can't heal from it when you're in it.
Well, I mean, but let's kind of change channels a little bit, because what if you're dealing with someone, and I've known people who are big on faith, okay? And, they see that they're with a narcissistic, individual. They love him, they love her. They don't want to leave, they want to honor their vows. And they through faith, they believe, I'll just pray my way through this, or I'll get me a support system of prayer warriors or something of that magnitude. How would you direct that person? Do you think the same applies to someone who either has faith or doesn't have faith? Because common sense is still common sense. And I've said that many a times, whether you are of the faith or whether you're not, common sense is still common sense. How would you address that?
Oftentimes people think that biblically that it doesn't support someone leaving a relationship like that. And I completely disagree. So narcissism is actually all throughout the Bible. And there's plenty of examples of reasons why and how you should leave narcissistic relationships. Think about in the beginning when God had to deal with Satan. He knew that he wasn't going to change. So what did he do? He had to kick him and all of his friends out of heaven. If God can't change a narcissist, if he couldn't put up with it, if he couldn't deal with it himself, what makes you think that you can? Right? So we have that example. We have the example of Jesus multiple different times.
Well, let me backtrack, because it's not you changing the person. No, I didn't say the prayer. I'm saying prayer, because prayer does change things. But what I am saying, like that example you gave with Satan, you're right. Of course, God gives everyone free choice, free will. If God wanted to robotically change Satan, he could have. But in a relationship, I don't want you thinking I'm saying that person can change the individual. No, I'm saying through faith, some people believe that they can still remain and pray their way through.
But that's what I'm saying is that even with prayer, right, in certain circumstances, that if God thought that prayer would have helped in that situation, and the second example I was actually going to give was Jesus dealing with the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Right. If prayer would have worked in those situations, those circumstances, that would have been something that he would have talked about. But instead, he slipped through the crowd. And he also said multiple different times that when someone doesn't receive you well, to make sure you kick the dust off your feet. There's plenty of examples of the fact that some people, regardless of prayer or not, and also we also have to understand that in certain circumstances. And I'm not telling people not to pray. I'm not telling people not to exhaust. I'm not saying that leaving people or divorcing people or anything like that should be the first option. I actually think it should be the last option. So if you feel like you're at a point where you need to pray and things like that, but you also need to, it's also very important to be a good steward over your things, understanding that this person, because people are narcissistic, they're going to be wiping your bank account clean, they're going to be zapping you, and it physically, mentally, and emotionally. It's also going to have dramatic impacts on your children if you share children, and it also literally is going to put you into an early grave. And I'm not just saying that; I literally mean that. Is that it's going to end your life a lot faster. And even if this person isn't physically abusive, the physical aspects of what the stress is going to do to you throughout the relationship is going to put you into an early grave. You start to notice that you begin to lose your hair. There's extreme weight gain, weight loss. There's a lot of different aspects to it. So we have to understand that even biblically, right, that there's support to understand, and there's situations and there's examples of times where people still needed to leave, and understand that doesn't make you faithless. That actually makes you even more faithful to be a good steward over your kids, and to be able to move on.
That was an applause, sir.
He saw it.
Okay, that was an applause. So let me tell you why I put on. I know you probably couldn't hear it as clear. Probably sounded like waves or something on your ear, but that was actually an applause. Let me tell you why. You really hit some topics. Now I can play. Some people say devil's advocate, and sometimes I play along with the audience, because these are questions that people have, and sometimes these are questions that I have. But you said some things that I have to agree with you. Not going into my history or my past, but there have been people, unfortunately, that I was linked to. Now, again, we've already discussed, everyone had baggage. So I had my baggage too, but to see that narcissistic, and I didn't even know what the term was then. This was years ago. And to go through, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in the audience. Yes, there was someone who would show you their best side and then their worst side, sometimes within the matter of minutes, that mentally, spiritually, emotionally, it can affect your health and take you to an early grave. And so I had to give you that applause, because that was something I said to myself years ago. I said, I'm not going to an early grave. I have a daughter that I'm raising. I have a life I want to live. So I just had to give you that applause, because as you said, it should be your last resource. That's, try to exhaust what you can, but don't exhaust your life if you can help it. So exactly. I just had to give you the applause for that, for Elizabeth just quickly jumped in. Now go ahead.
I appreciate it.
No, I'm really enjoying this conversation. So much you're these gems of wisdom that you're bringing to our audience and to us. Like, these are really good things. I like the way you're talking through, how people can think about their relationships a lot differently, from like not just the we always say this in the natural way, but in the spiritual way too. Yeah. But I did want you to comment too on the narcissist parent. Like, what does that look like, for kids out there that just might be struggling through their relationships with a narcissistic parent, and really they may feel like they don't have a way or a coping mechanism. Which
are still the similar attributes.
It's similar, right. So I'm guessing it's similar, but
it's not that much of a difference.
Well, it's not, because it's still the same. Right. It's still the same type of person. Still the personality type. It's still all about them. And when you're dealing with a narcissistic parent, everyone's going to have their own experience. You're going to have the golden child. You're going to have a scapegoated child if there's multiple different children in the family. If you're the only child, there's going to be times where you feel like you are the golden child and you can't do anything wrong. And there's going to be times where you are the scapegoated child where you can't do anything right. There's also the invisible child. And so, long story short, it doesn't matter which child you are. All the children ultimately know that there's something wrong. A lot of times people think that the golden child has it good because they can't do anything wrong, but the golden child feels an immense amount of pressure because they have to be perfect all the time. Because what's happening is that they're actually fulfilling the narcissist is living their life through the golden child. So they are this image and the perfect representation of what the narcissist thinks that they themselves should be.